Tonight, we'll look back at a terrific divisional weekend, from the ups of Jalen Carter to the downs of Mark Andrews. Sal Paolantonio joins us to talk championship Sunday and why passing yards might be overrated. Sean Green has your championship weekend picks and props. John Keim joins from D.C. to talk Jaden Daniels and the league's oldest roster. And it's Pat in the chat tonight on a championship edition of This Week in Pro Football.
It's time for This Week in Pro Football, a deep dive into the key issues and marquee matchups in the National Football League. For the next 60 minutes, we invite you to sit back or lean in with host Pat Callahan as we preview the week's Eagles matchup, big games, breaking stories, and all news NFL. It's This Week in Pro Football, right now on JAKIB Media Sports.
Hello, everybody. Pat Callahan joining you for a championship weekend edition of This Week in Pro Football here on JAKIB Sports. Thank you very much for joining me. Thanks to everybody in that chat room. I'm going to be calling on you guys later today, so please hit that like button. And we'll be chatting about 40-some minutes from now. I'm going to hit you guys with another trivia question and also ask you something else to chat on, and we'll do that in our third segment. Sal Paolantonio, of course, is going to join. I need as much time with this gentleman as possible. John Keim from ESPN in Washington will join at the top of the next hour to talk about it from the Commanders' point of view. Commanders on a hell of a run right now, and they've got one hell of a quarterback leading the way, a rookie quarterback, the number 2 draft pick, Jaden Daniels. And, of course, Sean Green at the bottom of the hour will take it from his usual jaundiced point of view. We'll have your championship weekend picks and props. So it's an action-packed episode here of This Week in Pro Football. Xander, if you would you bring up at the grid here? This is where the playoffs have been, ladies and gentlemen. A very busy chart, but if you just narrow your focus towards the middle, this is how they got here. Washington coming off just an enormous win over Detroit. We'll talk to Sal certainly about all 4 of those games. Philadelphia beats the Rams. You could look at that game one of 2 ways, and we'll do that in just a minute. But Philadelphia won. That's all that matters. Buffalo beats Baltimore. I do feel bad for the Ravens. We'll talk to Sal about that too. But just like the Rams, you can't turn the ball over and win in a divisional weekend playoff game. Can't do it, Sally. And then there's the Chiefs. And many weeks ago, Sal mentioned the Jordan rules, and boy, were they in effect last Saturday in Kansas City against the Houston Texans. All right, Xander, thanks very much. Let's bring this gentleman on, please, right now, because I have about 400 questions to ask him. That's the host of the NFL Matchup Show on ESPN and a game analyst for the network and, of course, a national correspondent. And that would be Sal Paolantonio. Sal, how are you, pal?
Oh, Pat, can you believe it? If you had Commanders at Eagles in the NFC Championship, raise your hand. And I'm putting my hand down because I definitely did not have the Commanders at the Eagles. So, there's only one other time in Super Bowl history that a road team in 3 straight road games in the playoffs, road dog, won all 3, went to the Super Bowl and won it. And that was the 2008 New York Giants.
Right.
So it was in this division.
Yep.
And, that suggests battle-tested.
Yeah.
And the Commanders are a battle-tested football team.
All right. Now, give yourself some props now. You mentioned last week you thought the 9.5 was way too much, and you thought that the Commanders could be a problem for Detroit. Boy, were you right. You right. So let's take a look at all 4 of those games from last week, and Sal, we'll start with that. Washington goes in and just offensively blitzes the Detroit Lions. Now, did the Lions' cumulative defensive injuries finally catch up to them? Or is just Washington playing downhill football right now?
I think it's a little of both, but I'm going to go mostly downhill football. So the numbers are unbelievable for Jaden Daniels. I'm going to read you the numbers, especially in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter or overtime in December or January, Jaden Daniels, 6 touchdown passes, only 1 interception. Completion percentage of 70%. It's 69.9. We're going to round up. Rushing yards, 75 per game. Now, this is per game. And total QBR of 92. Commanders are 7-0 in December or January. I mentioned a couple of weeks on your show, Pat, that he's so tough in the fourth quarter because he's just faster, stronger, younger than a lot of teams now that have played a full season. And as a dual threat quarterback, he is so dangerous. He creates so much conflict. And so that's my answer to you. And we will get into this matchup and why that's so important later in the show.
Right.
And I'm just going to tease people and say Jalen Hurts is not on the spot in this game. Vic Fangio is on the spot in this game.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. We'll do that in detail after the break. Sal, one other thing about that game, just real quick. Am I right? Jared Goff will win you a game if you're a really good team. Jared Goff is not going to win a game by himself. True or false?
Well, I think it's mostly true, Pat. Listen, he's had a superb season.
Right.
And there's no way that he should have lost the game. But Aaron Glenn's defense fell apart.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
It fell apart, Pat. He dropped the rookie quarterback, 9-point dog on the road, dropped 45 on him. Pat,
I know, Sal. I know.
Not even the top 10 problem.
Yep. All right, fair enough. The Lions, though, very, very, I'm sure they're just absolutely disconsolate right now. They thought this was going to be their run. But I tell you, that window closes fast. As you pointed out to me, they're going to lose both coordinators. They've already lost one, and they're going to lose the other one. And
Aaron Glenn is hired by the Jets, so he
was hired. Okay, so there you go. So now they're starting all over again with nomenclature and terminology. And we'll see. We'll see for the Lions. Okay, Kansas City, Saturday afternoon, defeats Houston. Now, about a month or so in this program, you espoused the presence in the NFL of the Jordan rules. Now, there were two plays in that game, Sal, that the whole nation talked about, led to 10 Kansas City points. Just tell me, Kansas City was better than you. They're a better team than Houston. But how difficult is it to go into Arrowhead and win a playoff game?
I've been there many times in the playoffs. Only guy I ever saw go in there and do it was Joe Burrow.
Right.
So that's it. I mean, Brady, of course, in his prime. But in this iteration of the Chiefs, only Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And that's only because Patrick Mahomes turned the football over. Yeah. So it's very tough to do. I don't believe Buffalo can do it until they do it.
Right.
That's my golden rule. You got to show me first before I'm going to pick you. So I'm picking the Chiefs to win the game. I'd like to see Buffalo win just to change things up.
Right.
Man, oh man. New Orleans, Bills Mafia, Philadelphia Eagles, Green Nation.
I know that could be, that's a little combustible. But
you need the Volstead Act, Pat. You'd have to pass it all over again.
The Volstead Act. Oh, man. Very good. Those of you in the chat, I want somebody to tell me what the Volstead Act was. See how fast you can come up with it. Sal, the last 11 years, the Chiefs are 132-48 in the regular season. They're 17-6 the postseason. It is just so daunting. With those kind of numbers, it can't all be officiating. But, man, that's deflating to see those two calls happen. All right, Sal, the two other games. Baltimore goes into Buffalo. That was a heavyweight fight. It was. But my take, you can't turn the ball over 3 times and win the game. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Postseason football. I'll say it once more with feeling on This Week in Pro Football. For everybody who's watching this show, it will sound like a broken record because I've said it before. But for those of you just watching for the first time, 3 things. 1, you can't turn the ball over. 2, rushing attempts. Derrick Henry had 16 rushing attempts on the road in Buffalo. What?
Yeah.
He should have had 36 rushing attempts.
You're right. That's why they got it.
And then points allowed in the fourth quarter. Those are the 3 determining factors of whether you win and lose.
Right.
And Baltimore violated all of them.
Yeah. Yep. I feel bad for the Ravens. I mean, they played well enough, but you can't do it. You just can't drop the ball. You can't fumble the ball. You can't throw indiscriminate picks like Lamar did. And there you have it. All right, let's take a few minutes, though, Sal, about this game in Philadelphia last Sunday. Now, my take, Sal, is the same as the Ravens. You can't allow 3 touchdowns of 40-plus yards, commit 2 turnovers, allow 5 sacks, and shockingly, they were 20 yards away, the Rams were, from winning the game. But I think that the right team won the game. What do you think?
Oh, the right team won the game for sure. The running back fumbles were just an absolute killer. Again,
Right.
turnovers,
Right.
rushing attempts. You put that much on your quarterback, and Stafford played his. And I say this on this program, but I'm going to say butt. He played his butt off. I don't mean butt. You know what I mean.
Yep.
I was on that field for most of the fourth and most of the end of the fourth quarter. Matthew Stafford looked down the middle of the gun barrel and never flinched. That was a superb performance. It really was. Sean McVay, I saw him post-game press conference. I know Sean looking right at me. His face was red. It looked like he was crying. Yeah. He said, I thought we had them. I thought we were going away 29-28.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Pat, you kind of blocked Jalen Carter, Pat.
Well, we have talked about that, you and me, all season long. I mean, Bo Limmer, the center of the Rams, makes a critical mistake, but this guy is a force of nature. He is.
You got to double team him. You can't single him up because he will kill you.
And it was on fourth down too. It was him who forced the errant throw by Stafford on fourth down. He is an absolute force of nature. And I want to talk. You mentioned after the break. I do want to bring this up though about Vic Fangio, because Stafford had 14 completions in the first 56 minutes of that game. He had 12 in the last 4. So I want to ask you about that, whether Stafford just all of a sudden went into a phone booth and changed, or whether something else changed. We'll do that after the break too. All right, when we get back with Sal Powell, we're going to talk about Eagles Commanders, why Sal has the stats to tell you passing is overrated as we compare Hurts and Jaden Daniels. And we'll also take a peek at Kansas City and Buffalo. All of that to come here on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Auto.
Welcome back. We've got another exciting play underway at KennedyAuto.com.
That's right. At KennedyAuto.com, you can browse their entire inventory from home.
The customer is scrolling hundreds of Ford, Mazda, and Subaru vehicles right at his fingertips.
He made his selection and got a bottom line price set directly to his email. He could go all the way.
And the deal is good, all without leaving his couch. Incredible. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Discover the essence of true community banking with First Bank, your trusted partner across Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Their network of branches brings you convenient access to dedicated personal bankers who understand your unique needs. At First Bank, you're not just a customer, you're a valued member of the community. Additionally, they are excited to announce the opening of 2 new branches in Media, Pennsylvania and Trenton, New Jersey, bringing their personalized banking services even closer to you. Connect with any member of the team today at their Westchester office, conveniently located at 849 Paoli Pike, or call them at 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
All right, welcome back here This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan with the excellent Sal Paolantonio joining me. Vince G, you were right on the chat. The Volstead Act created prohibition, and it didn't last. Thankfully, Sal, it didn't last that long, but it created an entire industry of its own, like most acts do when Congress passes them. All right, Sal, you were kind enough to send me some notes, including some talking about the startling dichotomy of the better quarterbacks last weekend in terms of passing yards are now fitting out their golf bags versus those who did not pass the ball or did not accumulate much passing yards. Why don't you talk about that for a minute?
Well, Pat, passing yards are overrated, especially in the postseason. I didn't mention them in my top 3 of how you win postseason games. So you look at Jalen Hurts. He hasn't thrown an interception and has 10 touchdowns and a passer rating of 102.3 in his last 5 playoff games.
Right.
That would be a great trivia question because I don't think anybody would really know that number. Let me repeat it. No interceptions, 10 touchdowns, 102.3 passer rating, last 5 playoff games. That's how you win playoff games. So when Sirianni gets up there and say Jalen Hurts is a winner, that's what he's talking about. And you look last week, the 4 quarterbacks who are now in championship games, playing on championship Sunday. Josh Allen, 147 total yards.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, 191.
Right.
Jalen Hurts, 198.
Yeah.
The only guy who's the outlier is Daniels because he was in a shootout with Jared Goff.
Correct. Yep. And then on the flip side, Lamar, 293 yards, a loss. Matt Stafford, 329, a loss. Jared Goff, 320, and a loss. So you certainly make a substantial point. Now, let me be the contrarian. I know it's not like me, but let me just throw this out because I want your opinion on Hurts. You have been saying all season long that he is holding the ball too long. Now, the Rams had 7 sacks Sunday, and the average length of time that it's taken him to get rid of that ball Sunday was well over 3 seconds. I'm talking about on the sacks itself. What do you see in terms of that? Were the Rams just that good in coverage, or is Hurts reluctant to find that dump-off play and get rid of the ball?
Well, there's 3 things that play here, Pat. Number one, most important, the Rams' defensive line, I think, surprised the Eagles' offensive line and how good they were. They were getting early penetration, and that made Jalen Hurts a little skittish in the pocket. Number 2, he didn't see open receivers. There was receivers open all day long. Take, for instance, the sack for the safety.
Right.
He had an open receiver on his left. Now,
Right.
maybe he didn't want to throw it because he was concerned about a pick 6. That's possible. And I think that's the number 3 reason. He's not thrown an interception. He's holding on to the ball because he doesn't want to give it away. But sacks are almost as bad as a turnover in many cases, especially when you give the team 2 points on a safety. So they're working on it. I know that they are. I talk to people around the team who say the Eagles are working on it. They're working on it. They're trying to get him to do better. With the brace on the left knee, he was limited participant in the walkthrough today. The question is, what can they do with him? Can they get him outside the pocket? I don't know. Can they do some reverses? Can they do some no wide receiver screens, but running back screens to Barkley? Can they do some of that? Some quick hitters so that he can get the ball out of his hands. And more of those slant routes. He loves those slant routes to A.J. Brown. Do more of that.
Right.
Some jet sweeps, some reverses, some pitches. Anything to get the ball out of his hands like that. Quick, get the ball out.
Sal Powell, A.J. Brown so far the postseason, 3 for 24. No touchdowns. Now, I mean, can we lay any of this at the feet of number 11, or do you think it's all circumstantial?
That's a loaded question, Pat. I don't think it's circumstantial, for sure not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're paying him what, $90 million?
Oh yeah, and he's a big guy, and Sal, by physical definition, I'd have to think he gets open on those slants. And it just seems like there's just a total lack of communication or confidence between Hurts and A.J. Brown.
I think you answered your question right there, Pat.
Yeah.
No question about it. I mean, they don't have to be more productive. They do have to be as careful, but they can't be as careless as they have been. They almost gave the game away to the Rams last week because of their carelessness. Missed extra points. Safety on a sack.
Safety, right?
Yep. A lot of different carelessness that they can't afford to do. This quarterback coming in here is super hot. And the last time they played, and the reason why I say it's more on Fangio than Hurts. So the Eagles are up 27-14 on December 22nd.
Right.
Daniels had 3 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. Fangio's defense allowed him to get back in the game. Now, people are going to argue, Sal, and people are probably in the chat room right now. We didn't have C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He got ejected. You're telling me one player is the difference between no touchdown passes and 3? Whatever you're paying C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you need to triple it tomorrow if he's that important to your football team.
Right.
I'm just saying.
It's fair to say.
So we saw Aaron Glenn get boat raced by Jaden Daniels, and I sent you those numbers with Jaden Daniels. The Washington Commanders never punt.
Yeah.
They punted the 4th fewest time in the NFL because you can't get the kid off the field.
I know. Tremendous confidence in him. You're right. Because they go for it on 4th down. They're just like the Lions, but they don't have a lumbering, Jared Goff back there. They got this kid who's really something special.
So there's 2 aspects of this matchup that are very important for people to watch that nobody is talking about right now. Nobody. So let's talk about them on this show. 1, what is the spy operation going to be like against Jaden Daniels? Nakobe Dean's gone. Is it C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Quinyon Mitchell is hurt. How effective is he going to be one-on-one against Terry McLaurin? So that means you're going to have C.J. Gardner-Johnson preoccupied with McLaurin getting deep or Zach Ertz underneath. Right. So who is spying Daniels and how? That is absolutely important. And then on the flip side, with Washington's right guard, Sam Cosmi, out with a knee injury. Right. He's their best offensive lineman. Who's blocking Jalen Carter in this game?
Yeah.
How are you stopping Jalen Carter? Jalen Carter, in my opinion, and I said this to you in the email this morning. I don't know, it was like 4 a.m. I was up thinking about this game.
I know.
Pat, Jalen Carter's the best player on all 4 teams right now. It's not even close, in my opinion. It's Carter and Daniels is 1-2.
Yeah. He's going to remind. I know it's way too soon. I know, but it's my show. I could do it. This guy reminds me of Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? He's got that attitude, and he's got tremendous agility for a guy that big. And I just think there's a couple of years from now, this guy, if he applies himself, he could be an absolute monster in this league. Now, I want to ask you. You mentioned about Fangio. Fangio, 0 Super Bowl rings, right?
I believe I got to double check that. I don't know if he has one or not.
Yeah, but Sal, let me go back to my Stafford statistic.
No, it is official. He has no Super Bowl rings. According to ESPN stats, he was the 49ers defensive coordinator when they lost to the Ravens. Right. He was in that Super Bowl, but he's no Super Bowl rings. Sal,
when I mentioned about Stafford, how in the last 5 minutes of the game, he went berserk. And boy, he was impressive. You were right. And Matt Stafford, it's a shame as a Ram fan, I don't know where they were the first 55 minutes, but he was really impressive in those last 5. Now, it had to be because the Eagles did something different. Now you've got a kid coming in here who absolutely flourishes in the 4th quarter. So will you see, would Fangio, is he going to change anything defensively aside from the spy that you talked about? You don't need to spy Matt Stafford. But you might have to certainly spy this kid. But does Fangio did he actually go to a prevent? And would he do that again against Jaden Daniels?
He has no choice. He can't blitz Jaden Daniels. Who is going to blitz him? Yeah. Daniels beats the blitz like he's eating an ice cream cone.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah. He's faster than everybody else on the field.
Right.
So you can't blitz him. You have to play coverage.
Yeah.
And if the coverage breaks down, he goes, and he's not looking for home runs. He's looking for moving the chains. He's such a smart runner.
Yeah. McLaurin has flourished with him. Zach Ertz has been reborn with him, after some moribund years in Arizona. And even Alamade Zaccheaus playing very well. It's going to be tough.
The quarterback will be protected in this game. Sean Hockley is the referee.
Yeah.
He threw the 3rd most roughing the passer penalties in the league this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank God he's not doing the Chiefs game. That's a case out. God almighty.
And Sirianni is 5-0 with Sean Hockley.
I know. I see that. I wasn't that surprised. This guy's got a winning record. He's got to have a winning record with every official in the NFL, Sal. But Sirianni.
I think.
Yeah. Sal. Let's just say we have a couple minutes left here. I just want to get your take. You've already mentioned it, but I just if you would, just flush it out a little bit. Kansas City hosting Buffalo. I said at the start of the season, the Bills window is closing only because, this kid is he's miraculous. I'm talking about Josh Allen now, but sooner or later, somebody's going to pop him. Something's going to go wrong. He never misses any games. But do the Bills did they surround him with enough going into this championship game to go in there and take that Lamar Hunt trophy away from the Chiefs?
Well, he doesn't have Chris Jones, and he doesn't have Travis Kelce, and he doesn't have Xavier Worthy.
Right.
And to me, the combination of those three plus that quarterback and the genius of Steve Spagnuolo to dial up blitzes on third down and get to the quarterback is, I think, going to be too much. I would love to see a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl. I would love it. I don't think anybody in America, really, or few people outside of the Kansas City area wants to see a repeat of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be the most watched game in the history of American television on Sunday night, especially if the game is close in the fourth quarter. So if Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over, they got a chance.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about the Chiefs. I wrote this down. The average NFL football fan, and let's face it, Sal, the Chiefs are on almost every single week. The Chiefs are in some sort of a primetime game. How many NFL fans could name someone besides Mahomes, Kelce, and Chris Jones that even play, that plays for the Chiefs? Their defense, aside from Jones, is virtually anonymous. And yet he gets the very best out of them. And obviously, Andy Reid is unparalleled in his ability to get the most out of his offense. It's a tough call. I know, tough task for the Bills.
The Jets hired Aaron Glenn, who just literally got boat raced by Jaden Daniels and didn't even interview Steve Spagnuolo, I don't think. How do you do that? How's that possible?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that a shame? That's
All
a shame.
you got to do is drive, a few miles east where he coached for the Giants and go look at those Super Bowl trophies that are there because he coached there.
That's a shame. Spagnuolo got ruined by his time with the Rams. That franchise was a mess when he was there. And it's a shame that he got tarred with that. I
would like to see him get a head coaching job again.
All right. So, Sal, I know you'd like to see Philadelphia, Buffalo, but you're calling basically now a replay of Philadelphia, Kansas City 2 weeks hence. Is that right?
Pat, that's my pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I'm not giving 6 points on Sunday in Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, both spreads are about 6, and both are about the Chiefs.
Chiefs are -2. The Eagles are -6.
Right. Both over unders are 47 on ESPN Bet. But I hope you're right. I'd love to see Philadelphia Buffalo. I think that would be an outstanding Super Bowl.
Don't forget to watch Championship Sunday NFL Matchup Show on ESPN2 and ESPN on Saturday and Sunday.
All right.
And we will have a lot about Eagles and Commanders. And this Jaden Daniels, we will show you how he is just a total difference maker. And, Pat, we will talk next week, Pat.
All right. And you'll be at Lincoln. Obviously, you'll be at Lincoln Financial Sunday. People can find you there pregame, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Sal, thanks very much for all the time, pal. It was terrific. And look forward to talking to you for our post-conference championship edition next week. All right. All right. The great Sal Paolantonio joining me there. Always great to have Sal on. All right. We get back. This gentleman will join me. I saw him jumping around when the Eagles beat the Rams last week, so I'm going to do nothing but scream at him for the next 13 minutes. That's Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football.
Welcome to Park Bank, a return to better banking. With 7 locations across Philadelphia and South Jersey, we prioritize your financial well-being with a blend of modern amenities and traditional customer service. Our professional team is dedicated to providing tailored banking solutions, whether you are opening your first account, planning for retirement, or expanding your business. Our services include a wide range of personal and business banking options with competitive deposit rates and products. We are committed to making your banking experience seamless and efficient, with the latest technology at your fingertips and the personalized support you deserve. Park Bank, your bank, your community. For more information, go to parkbank.com. That's Park, P-A-R-K-E, bank.com. Member FDIC. Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated is the concrete cutting specialist in the Philadelphia area since 1995. and they've become the specialist in the Pittsburgh area as well. These guys are celebrating 28 years as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. So if you have a project that requires any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition, or interior excavating, call the specialist, Concrete Cutting Systems, located at 2514 Orthodox Street in the heart of Philly. Call them at 215-533-0652. With a fleet of over 70 service trucks, Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated is always ready to service all of your concrete cutting, drilling, and concrete demolition and highway sealing needs. These guys are the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. So don't delay. Call the boys today at 215-533-0652. And be sure to check them out on Facebook and Instagram at CCSINC_Phila or on the web at concretecuttingsystems.net.
Welcome back here to This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan joining you. Hey, give me a follow, please, on X at TWIPF Pat. You can follow the network at JAKIB Sports. Thanks to all of you joining the chat. Please a reminder to my chat colleagues that after Sean, I left the segment open here. So I'm going to want to join you guys in some conversation. I got a trivia question for you. I also want to ask you to rank something for me, and we'll do that in the next segment. One word, too. Let's bring Sean on, if we would, Xander, please, the host of the Sports Gambling Podcast and one of the great prognosticators in the nation, Sean Green. Sean, how you doing, pal?
Doing great. Yeah. Tough game there against your Rams, but great game towards the end there. I
saw you in your Reggie White jersey running around, acting like a full-blown disgrace. And that's all right, pal. Don't be strutting around. I don't want to catch you strutting around Los Angeles now in any type of Ram gear during the summer, like you're okay.
I think I'm safe on these streets here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you can wear anything you want, and I think if you wear a Ram jersey, people look at you.
People be confused. They're like, what's going on? What's this crazy person wearing a Rams supporting a local team?
I know. Maybe that changes a little bit with the whole fire thing. I don't know, but you're right. Yeah. It was a scary game. It was a scary game for the Eagles, but I was surprised it was, Sean. Obviously, we all thought at 28-15 the game was over, and then I think the Eagles tactically started to sit back, and boy, Matt Stafford was impressive, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a huge fan of Vic Fangio. Great addition, getting the most out of these guys. But that last, the drive basically where they were up 13 points.
Yeah.
It was just a super soft prevent, and the last time we really saw something like that was actually. It reminded me of that drive against the Falcons where Kirk Cousins just walked down the field and got the touchdown there. So fortunately to get the stop on the second one. But I mean, the Eagles, an interesting game because in some ways they played at a really high level. You look at guys like Jalen Carter, Saquon Barkley had awesome games. But then, Jake Elliott missing a couple extra points, A.J. Brown dropping one, Lane Johnson with the false start because they had our snap count there. Jalen Hurts not playing at an elite level. So there was
interesting. You're right.
Yeah, they didn't play their best game.
That's fair. That's fair to say. And it's amazing. 3 touchdown runs of over 40 yards, 2 turnovers, 5 sacks, and the Rams were 21 yards from winning the game. I don't know what would have happened in this city had the Rams pulled that off. And you know what? Tyler Higbee was coming open.
Yeah.
That pass. And I'm telling you, Sean, I don't know if he would have made it in. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he was going to get damn close. And
crazy.
Carter is ferocious, Jalen Carter. Now, one thing you had mentioned about Fangio, I wanted to get your opinion on this. Sal Pal sends me all these notes. I didn't get to do this one. Jaden Daniels in the fourth quarter of that game in week 16 against Philadelphia had 3 touchdowns and a QBR of 99.8 when he was blitzed. So do you see maybe Fangio saying, all right, forget that. We're just going to try and blanket coverage here and spy on this guy?
Yeah, I do think so. And I think a big reason why the Eagles had success last week was Nakobe Dean was out. And, Oren Burks came in with some great tackles. I was just watching a film breakdown of a screen he single-handedly blew up. I think that's going to be huge. And then you look at the offensive line, Commanders, really unfortunate timing for their right guard, Sam Cosme, who is now out for the season. So Jalen Carter is going to be going up against a backup right guard. I think they're going to be able to get pressure without blitzing. And then I think, to your point, they're going to be able to keep the linebackers for spine, for helping out with the tight end underneath there, a guy like Zach Ertz. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, if he can stay in the game, unlike last time where he got thrown out for talking trash. That was kind of a questionable call, to say the least.
Yeah.
And that was, and again, hats off to the Commanders for winning that game. But there was a lot of weird things that happened in that game. Eagles were still able to force some turnovers of the Commanders there. And, Kenny Pickett with the interception that gave him really good field position. I think it's going to be, the game will look more closer to what it looked like when they played in Philly than Washington.
All right. Last week, Sean, Justin Marks, the John Barleycorn of football.
He's been on a heater.
He had Jalen Hurts. He said Hurts over 39.5 yards. He said he would do it by halftime. He was dead right on that. He had Washington, Detroit over 55.5. He just squeaked by on that. They scored combined 76. And he had Rashad Bateman anytime touchdown. Boom. First quarter, he gets an impressive run. So the bar's up. The bar's up.
I know. It's a lot of pressure.
Give me some props. What kind of props are you seeing for Jaden Daniels this week against the Eagles in terms of rushing, maybe, or passing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to still leaning into the script that I think it's going to be, a tight, close-fought game, kind of closer to the Eagles the first time they played them. His passing yards are set at 224, which isn't tremendously high, but I would look towards the under here for his passing yards. I think if he does get loose, it might be in the running game because they get pressure with 4, and maybe he has some success there. But again, Quinyon Mitchell, according to Quinyon, he's 100%. And if you get Quinyon Mitchell out there in the secondary, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay's been playing at a very high level. I think the Eagles secondary matches up pretty well against this Commanders receiving corps. So I think they're going to have their hands full.
Somebody's got to cover McLaurin. I mean, he is on an absolute roll. And it'll be interesting to see if it's Mitchell or whoever. Do they have Mitchell follow him around the field? Do they have Slay on him? It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But
yeah, I think the first time they played, Quinyon was on him a bunch, and if you recall, he didn't really have a great game. One catch, 10 yards.
There you go.
So I know he's thinking about that one.
All right. Well, I'm sure the Daniels rush yards prop is higher than Jalen Hurts. Now Hurts, now he's got a knee brace on. He clearly was hurt last week. What kind of number are you seeing for Jalen Hurts? And do you think he's going to be an honest threat to run the ball this Sunday?
So, yeah, I'm going to say it's moving around a little bit. I would say it's at 32.5. If you recall last week, high 30s, 37.5. And yeah, Jaden Daniels number is 55. So that's why I wouldn't, I think he's going to get some rushing yards. It's just tough to play over a guy's number at 55.5 as a quarterback.
Right.
Here's what I would say with Jalen Hurts. I think they're going to show you that he can run early just to make you play it. Right. So I think if you're looking to play overs on Jalen Hurts, I do think it's probably a little low. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets one because maybe Washington doesn't. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Washington dares him to run and he breaks off one. But I think rushing attempts is always a fun way to play it as well. You get the tush push, you get the Eagles kneeling it down, as well as some potential easy rushing attempts. I think he's going to be pretty good. From what I can tell, the injury, it's going to be all about pain tolerance. So I think they're going to shoot him up. If you watch some of those videos, they were calling him Jalen Perks. I think they're going to shoot him up, and I think he's going to play through the pain. Yeah. I think he's going to be feeling it probably Monday, but he's a gamer. He's going to be out there, and I do think he'll run at least a little bit to make him play it.
I think, though, Sean, the Eagles, they got to see something between him and A.J. Brown. Brown has just been an absolute non-factor in the 2 playoff games so far. And with the way Jaden Daniels is playing, the Eagles are going to need to put some points up. And I know, I mean, if I'm Washington, I'm just having 9 guys staring at Saquon Barkley. I mean, the Rams can't figure it out. I assume the Commanders can.
But see, that's, you say that, Pat, and I agree with that logic. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm saying Saquon Barkley isn't beating us. Right. And yet every single game, Saquon Barkley beats them. And, in 2 games against the Commanders, he's had 296 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. So I think Saquon's coming. And, Washington 26 in rush defensive DVOA. If you're a Lions fan, your biggest complaint from that game is they couldn't stop Jahmyr Gibbs. Why did Jahmyr Gibbs not keep getting the ball? Why are we having Jamison Williams and Goff throw a ton of times? Just keep running it with Jahmyr Gibbs. Point.
Yep.
And I don't think the Eagles are afraid to run the ball a ton. So I think that's how you beat the Commanders. I think that's how they're going to do it.
All right, Sean Green, Philadelphia 6-point favorite right here. The over-under is 47.5. The money line list I saw it on ESPN Bet was Washington plus 230. Where are you leaning here? As if I don't know.
Yeah, obviously I'm going to take the Birds. Going to take them laying the 6. I would also, look towards the under. I think this is, it's cold weather football. If you're an old school football fan, I think you could be in store for a nice treat here. I know Jaden Daniels lit it up against the Lions team in the dome against a decimated defense. It's a little different game coming into Philly. I think 28-17 Eagles get it done.
All right. About 35 degrees, I think, somewhere around there at game time.
It could be the coldest game Jaden Daniels has ever played in. He's played in a couple cold games this year, but not a ton, obviously, in college. And I think the cold weather does impact their passing game.
Yeah. All right, Sean, let's take a look at the other game here. I think the entire free world is rooting like hell for Buffalo to go in there, pull an upset against the Chiefs team that I think the entire country has Chiefs fatigue. And it only gets worse when things happen like happened last Saturday. The statistics belie the fact that the Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt. In other words, there's no indication that Mahomes gets all these calls. And yet it just seems, the anecdotal evidence is overwhelming. Chiefs only a 2-point favorite. First off, are you surprised at that Kansas City only a 2-point favorite at home against Buffalo?
No, because it's you've been getting the Chiefs on a discount, I think, for a decent portion of the season. Like all the power numbers, the power ratings, stuff like that. It's all based on yards per play, that kind of stuff, which the Chiefs once again got outgained. In fact, all 4 teams who won had less yards than the team they won against. So a lot of like the power rating and stuff is based off stuff like yards per play, and the Chiefs have gotten outgained this year. So it doesn't surprise me that they're not a bigger favorite. I mean, basically odds makers have this probably as a on a neutral field. It's a pick 'em, and Chiefs are the home team. So you give them 2 points now probably for home field.
All right. Well, who do you like in this one? I get 2 points. The over under the exact same 47.5 money line. Buffalo plus 110.
Yeah, just give me the Chiefs. It's I had this Pat, you know how alcoholics have a moment of clarity? I had that with this Chiefs team. Anytime I fade the Chiefs, especially in the playoffs, I regret it. Patrick Mahomes 7-0 against the number when they're favored by a field goal or less. I just don't. You talk about the calls favorable for the Chiefs. Do you really want to be sitting around Sunday on the opposite side of that? I don't. For my sanity, I'm going to take the Chiefs. And I would love to see the Bills in the Super Bowl. I hope the Bills win. But I don't want to be pulling what's left of my hair out watching that game, betting against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
I think you're right. I think your logic there is unassailable. To a discount number like that, 2 points, a team is 17-6 at home in the playoffs in the last 11 years. It just seems like it's almost a gift, but I'd love to see Josh Allen do it. But I got it all down, Sean. And listen, I want to have you back even next week when there's no game going on. And then we'll go right through the Super Bowl here. And because I need every minute to try and convince you to become a Rams fan. So far, it ain't working. So far, it ain't working.
I like Matt Stafford. I like Cooper Kupp. And Sean McVay, I like Sean McVay, except he was really upset about it. He was trying to get a roughing the passer call in that last 4th and 11. There was no roughing the passer there.
No, you're not. Well, you're not going to get that call unless you're 15 and if you're 15 and red, you're getting it. If
now,
you're not,
Patrick Mahomes might, and that's why I'm not going to bet against him. You know, real quick, watch the matchup to watch in that game. Is remember how bad the Bills defense did against Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. The only guy stopping Mark Andrews was that fumble and then his drop. So could be a good game for Kelsey.
Guess who shows up? Travis Kelce. So, oh my God. All right. Well, we'll certainly look for that, Sean Green. Where does everybody find you this weekend, pal?
Yeah. Type in Sports Gambling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can't miss me. All
right. Let's everybody do that. Sean, thanks very much. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Take it easy, Pat.
All right, Sean Green joining me there. Thank you very much to Sean. All right, listen, gang, we get back here. I want the ladies and gentlemen who are kind enough to enter the chat room. I want to have a discussion with you. I left this segment open, and we'll do that. But here's what I want you please to consider and to opine on. First is my trivia question. Again, the winner, we'll give them a This Week in Pro Football t-shirt. I know I owe one to last week, so I think was the Twiz, I think. Was it? Or was it? No. It was Flex and Step, and thank you very much. Here's this week's question. Name me the team that has lost the most postseason games in NFL history. What franchise has lost the most postseason games in franchise history? Do not look it up. It's not a homework assignment. Please don't look it up. Just give me your guess. I appreciate that. And then the thing I want you to consider and come back and opine on is this. If you rank I want you to rank the 4 quarterbacks that are here for Championship Sunday in terms of 1 to 4, the one you think you definitely would want playing for your team this weekend versus the 4 would be the one you would least want playing for your team this weekend. All right. Do that for me. Answer that question. We'll be back on This Week in Pro Football.
Somewhere on the blue planet lies a hidden gem nestled in the heart of lush greenery. Where the game of golf takes on a new meaning. At Spring Mill Country Club, we offer an unparalleled golfing experience. Our meticulously maintained course is designed to challenge and delight golfers of all levels. But that's not all. Spring Mill is also the perfect venue for your most cherished celebrations. From intimate gatherings to grand weddings, our elegant banquet facilities provide the perfect backdrop for your special day. With exquisite cuisine, personalized service, and breathtaking surroundings, every event at Spring Mill becomes a cherished memory. Let us be a part of your journey, whether it's a round of golf, a celebration, or a once-in-a-lifetime wedding. Spring Mill Country Club, where every moment is extraordinary. Visit us today and create your unforgettable story.
Welcome back. We've got another exciting play underway at KennedyAuto.com.
That's right. At KennedyAuto.com, you can browse their entire inventory from home.
The customer is scrolling hundreds of Ford, Mazda, and Subaru vehicles right at his fingertips.
He made his selection and got a bottom line price set directly to his email. He could go all the way.
And the deal is good, all without leaving his couch. Incredible. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Hi, welcome back here This Week in Pro Football. I'm looking at my chatsters here. It seems to be a little bit of an attention span issue going here. Xander, the trivia question was, name me the franchise, the NFL franchise, that has lost the most postseason games. Okay? How about an answer? And if the NFL franchise that has lost the most postseason games, don't look it up. All right? Second thing I was asking, which I don't see an answer yet, was take the 4 quarterbacks that are playing this weekend and rank them 1 to 4. Who would you most want to see on your leading your team. Abe comes up with Mahomes, Allen, Jaden, and Hurts. Now, Hurts is 4. That's certainly that's what I got, but I don't have it that way. Number 1, Tony says Mahomes. Number 4, another one. Number 4, Hurts. But he's got Mahomes 1. I can certainly see that. I can certainly understand that. But I don't know. I'm looking. I've got it. Well, I'll tell you in a minute what I got. I'm looking at the trivia question now. Flexen's not going to go 2-0. He's got. He said the Bills. No, it is not Buffalo with the most postseason losses. Remember, you got to get into the postseason to lose. Mahomes, Hurts, Allen. Yep. Daniels 4th. It was Xander. That last one you just put up. Wow. Jaden Daniels 4th, huh? That's a little punitive right there. I've got it. Allen first. I think Allen would be the guy I'd want most. Mahomes, then Daniels, then Hurts. But isn't it something where most of us are saying Jalen Hurts 4th going into this weekend? Because the Eagles' passing game just doesn't look like it's significant enough that they're going to be able to win this game. I mean, if they needed it. San Diego, Tony, is not the answer. That's not a bad guess, though. I see we have a correct answer. We do have a correct answer, even though my boy Carl Stevenson's guessing all kinds of teams. So Pat Ryan guessed Pittsburgh. No, I know they've played a ton, but no, Pittsburgh usually has a habit of winning postseason games. The LA Rams have lost 29 times in the postseason. The Dallas Cowboys have lost 31. There's only one team that has lost more. Now, you got to think about it. Now, just think about teams that historically have a tendency to lose in the postseason. But I'm looking here like Mahomes, Jaden, Hurts, Allen. Now, there's a couple guys. Flexen has Allen 4th. I had him 1st. That's awful tough, you know. I think that Allen deserves maybe a little more respect than that. But I'll tell you, they're all good. You could really have, I don't know how many, I have to do my statistics or my see how many permutations there are out of 4. What is it? 12 divided by, I think there's probably 6 combinations of these 4 guys. But I've got Allen 1st, Mahomes 2nd, Daniels 3rd, Hurts 4th. I guess the top 3 apparently are interchangeable. The 4th appears to be Jalen Hurts, which is really kind of a surprise. Allen, not a surprise only at the Eagles are so dominant at home. Their record is so gaudy, and yet we're all kind of down on Jalen Hurts right now. I mean, it's hard not to be, with the numbers that you're seeing there. The Eagles, as I said, the Eagles passing game so far this postseason, Hurts is 28 of 41, 259 yards, 9 sacks, 73 yards lost on the sacks, and 6.31 yards per attempt and only 2 touchdowns. I mean, that is just not impressive enough. That is not impressive enough at all. So, Wilfredo, we're talking about right now, like going into this weekend right now, how would you rank these 4 quarterbacks? I'm a little surprised to see the lack of love there for old Josh Allen. I mentioned, I think this is Buffalo's chance right here. And it's such a daunting task to go into Kansas City and beat this bunch, but sometimes it seems like there's 18 Chiefs on the field. I saw a great post on X today of the end zone being decorated for the coming game, and it just has in the one end zone the word refs in it instead of Chiefs. And that does seem to be the indication. That's true. Wilfredo comes in with Allen 1st, Daniel 2nd, Mahomes and Hurts. That's very close to mine. Very close to mine. We do have a winner on the trivia. And now, I'm sorry, Xander, I might have lost it. I think it was Carl. I think Carl came up. It's the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota has lost 32 postseason games. I trust Carl didn't look it up. I see he's got the phone there on his picture, but I don't think he did. Minnesota's lost 32 postseason games. As I mentioned, Dallas has lost 31. Minnesota that broke the tie this year when they lost to the Rams. And the Rams 29 losses, including their loss to Philadelphia. So very close in terms of who's lost the most. But the I see most of them. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Somebody else had Vikings, but Carl's the first one I saw. I'm sorry, Jay Patterns. I missed you there. Carl gets it. But it looks like now, it's hard not to pick Mahomes one. I can certainly understand that. I mean, how do you do it? And then, like Sean Green was saying, that it's so tough to get in there and win. And the guy is just money. He's just simply money. But I think Allen's money too. I really do. And I just know, at some point, the Chiefs are finally going to crack. Now, I don't know. I remember that there's something about that line. I think only 2 points. You think the Chiefs would be maybe 3.5 because they got the home edge. And sometimes they do have 18 guys on the field, but only a 2-point number. There's a lot of people that like Buffalo with that kind of number. So, but we'll see. I think Allen is the top guy I'd want this week. Mahomes, you can't drop him any less than 2, I think. Jaden Daniels is playing outstanding ball. But again, like I was saying about the Chiefs, is there some point at which Jaden Daniels, maybe the moment will overwhelm him? But I don't see it. Boy, it sure didn't overwhelm him last week in Detroit. He looked calm, composed, and just like ready to eviscerate the Lions, which he certainly did. I was impressed with how often they went for it on 4th down. A couple of times I thought it was ridiculous that they did, but they converted. So it's a gutsy team. It's a gutsy team playing with house money. And boy, you never like that. You never like that. Twizzit is right, though. Mahomes is Allen's daddy in the playoffs. And until proven otherwise, that's exactly what Sal said. It's exactly what Sal said. That he'll believe it when he sees it. And I don't know. I don't know if does he have enough? And I certainly think, like Jay Pattern says, I just feel like this game's going down to the wire. I'm not sure which game you're referring to. If you're referring to Buffalo, Kansas City, I do think that's going to be the case. The Eagles game, I don't know. How about we do this? I want to thank everybody for all those comments. Appreciate it very much. And but we got one segment left to go, and that's John Keim is going to join us. John covers the Washington Commanders for ESPN, so I want to get the Commanders side of it, and we'll talk about that and who the hell is going to win this game. We'll do that next to wrap up a championship edition of This Week in Pro Football.
Welcome back. We've got another exciting play underway at KennedyAuto.com.
That's right. At KennedyAuto.com, you can browse their entire inventory from home.
The customer is scrolling hundreds of Ford, Mazda, and Subaru vehicles right at his fingertips.
He made his selection and got a bottom line price set directly to his email. He could go all the way.
And the deal is good, all without leaving his couch. Incredible. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Discover the essence of true community banking with First Bank, your trusted partner across Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Their network of branches brings you convenient access to dedicated personal bankers who understand your unique needs. At First Bank, you're not just a customer, you're a valued member of the community. Additionally, they are excited to announce the opening of 2 new branches in Media, Pennsylvania and Trenton, New Jersey, bringing their personalized banking services even closer to you. Connect with any member of the team today at their Westchester office, conveniently located at 849 Paoli Pike, or call them at 484-881-3800. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Pro Football and a championship week edition of this venerable program. Thank you very much for joining me here on JAKIB Sports. And I want to thank this gentleman very much for joining me for the 3rd time this season. And that is the John Keim from ESPN in Washington, host of the John Keim Report, and a guy who's been covering the Commanders since 2013 in Washington sports for about 30 years now. I'm sorry to date you, John. I apologize for that. But John Keim, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. And it's actually, I've covered this franchise for 30 years. Wow. So I've seen a lot of bad football, Pat. So this is really unique for me.
You're not seeing it now, John. You are not seeing it now, man.
Very different and very unexpected. But I love coming on here, and I hope you know that.
I appreciate that very much, John. Boy, John, I'm looking behind you there. It looks like have you been traded or something? It looks like
yes, I'm being held hostage here. No, I'm still out at the facility. I'm still at the facility.
Oh, I appreciate it.
One thing I've discovered is when your team is really good, there's more work to do.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, I enjoy it.
John, let me just start you with this ad lib type comment, because I just noticed that Sal Pao, he's such a great friend of mine. He sends me all these copious notes about the game. The Commanders they went for it last week. Well, in the playoffs, they've gone for it 64% of the time, and they're converting at a remarkable rate, 6 out of 9 on fourth down. And for the season, 26 out of 32.
Yeah.
What is it about them? Is the head coach that aggressive, or does he just look at his quarterback and say, he's my guy, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I think he's aggressive. I don't think he's reckless. I think, we saw Dan Campbell with Detroit a few times. Maybe you get you scratch your head at it. Right. But there's a lot of 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s from the 30 to 35. And I think one thing last week, you kind of know field goals aren't going to beat Detroit. You've got to score. And I think with this defense, you have to score. I think there's that. Then I think it's the confidence in Jaden Daniels as a quarterback and the ability, Pat, he can run or he can throw. So it gives you those multiple options as a quarterback, and it just enhances your playbook in those situations. Then the other thing is, one of the things I noticed in training camp, and Dan Quinn told me this later, that he said, yes, they practice more in situational football than any team I've been around. And I asked Dan Quinn about this at some point in the season. He said he's doing it a lot more than he's ever done. So in training camp, is so much on, red zone, 4th down situations, 30 seconds left. You got to convert it. You got to convert here. You've got to get a touchdown here. So all those things, I think, has prepared them for these kind of moments. But also, again, they have Jaden Daniels, and he's pretty good in those moments.
Well, is that how they did it then, John? How did Washington lay 38 points and really stun the Lions offensively last Saturday?
Well, first of all, the Lions defense still isn't very good. So the Vikings game was a mirage for them, in my opinion. Watching how Sam Darnold was in that game, I felt like while Detroit may have still won, I felt like Darnold was really not very good in that game and just missed throws in the red zone. So I thought they'd have opportunities to hurt Detroit in that way. But then, Pat, a big key was, first of all, they ran the ball much better than they have. But then it was the blitz. So Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, wanted to blitz Jaden Daniels a lot. Against the blitz, he was 11 for 15 for 201 yards. So it didn't hurt them, and it caused zero disruption for them. That to me was a big key in beating Detroit and really having that kind of day offensively.
And Sal and I were talking about that too, because when Vic Fangio blitzed him in that Week 16 game, he paid for it dearly. Now, but I want to point to, speaking of that game, since that game, now Jaden Daniels has been a revelation all season, but since that game, Washington 31 points per game, they're 5-0. Daniels is 94 out of 141, 67%, 12 touchdowns, and 294 yards rushing in basically 4 games. Remember the Dallas game, he didn't play near that. He played less than half that game. Was there something? Did something gel in the fourth quarter of that game against Philadelphia, which really catapulted Washington to where they are now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was a very good comeback for them. And I know Jalen Hurts wasn't playing, but that defense is still elite. And for them to do that against that group was eye-opening to me, and I think to a lot of people. So I think there's just a confidence that comes from that. And then they hadn't played a defense as good as Philadelphia's since that time. Now, Tampa Bay was pretty good, but I felt like they would be able to move the ball on them based on where they had progressed. But so a couple of things, Pat. I think their red zone offense has been pretty good. And I think Jaden Daniels has ascended as a passer. So you look at his touchdown passes in the last, I think in the last 7 games, he's thrown it's 19 touchdowns, something like that. A lot of he's been really good just converting on those, right? But the red zone work has been terrific. Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin in the red zone are big time threats for them. So I think that's a big part of it. They do a really good job of holding on to the ball so they don't lose possessions. And again, the fourth down stuff, when you're converting fourth downs, you're going to get more chances for touchdowns. So I think all of that, just you know what? It's just a good offense. And this will be a fun game because that is such a good defense.
I know. And I got to tell you, John, it just strikes me that sooner or later, that's a live by the sword and die by it thing to me, fourth down. And you're mentioning such a good defense. I think it's critical in a game like this. Come away with points. Now, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. They're so good at it, but you hate to see a 12-play drive get to the Eagles' 6-7 yard line. They go for it, don't make it. Now you come away with 0 instead of at least the psychological boost of 3.
Well, in the first game, if you remember, they're down 12-10, and they have fourth down in Eagles territory, deep in Eagles territory, and they went for a 4th and 2 instead of kicking a field goal with 8 minutes left, and they didn't get it, and they messed up the play. Now, Jalen Carter had something to do with that, but they messed up, but they didn't execute the play. I think Jaden pulled away a little bit early from the center and bobbled the ball, so it slowed everything down. They may not have gotten it, but they went for it. So typically, I think it's going to be read the kind of game situation. If they think it's going to be a high-scoring game, then you're more apt to go for it. And I think that's why, like against Detroit, you're going to feel like that. And Detroit had over 500 yards of offense. It was the turnovers that got them in that game for Detroit. That's what stopped the offense. So, but I think you're right. Like I don't think it's reckless what they do. I don't think it's just at all costs going for it. But I think if they feel they need the points, they're gonna be aggressive with it.
All right, John, talking with John Keim here, who covers the Commanders for ESPN in Washington. John, let's flip the ball now. Jalen Hurts, he twisted his knee last week against Los Angeles. Limited practice so far this week. Might have to wear a brace. But just given the utter destruction that Saquon Barkley has wreaked upon the NFL landscape this year, do you see Dan Quinn and the Commanders going all out to stop number 26 and basically dare Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and an anemic Eagles passing game to beat them?
I mean, you kind of have to do that. And by going all out, it's hard because you can do things offensively that can prevent a team from just focusing on the run, right? But they're so good running the ball. And if Jalen Hurts can't run, it changed. Like you watched on the zone, he had that 44-yard touchdown run in the zone read where you have to worry so much about Barkley. Right. And boom, there he goes. And it's a great design play with the pulling action coming around. So if you don't have that, now you can just focus on Barkley. But the problem with Barkley is you can stop him, boom. So, but I do think, Pat, here's the key. So in the last meeting, they had Marshawn Lattimore against A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had a pretty good game against him. So has Lattimore progressed with Washington?
Right.
This few games with the hamstring, has he progressed enough where he can go out and make that a good matchup where you can do something like focus more on Barkley and taking that run game away? Because if I'm them, I want to make Jalen Hurts beat me with his arm, not because I think he can't do it, but because you know what Barkley can do, you know what that run game can do, and you don't want any part of you want to limit that. Nobody's going to stop that, but you need to limit it. You can't have the explosives.
That's true. That's what I think too. I mean, I would sell out to stop 26, really, John, because if you could do that, I just would say to Jalen, I got to see you do it. You got to prove it to me that I need to change my defense. But as you pointed out, you can stop Barkley for 59 minutes, and I don't know. We'll see. But I want to ask you, Sam Cosmi, who was regarded by many as Washington's top offensive lineman, he's out. How substantial an effect does this have on a ground game that I think, John, is clearly, I think, the weakness of Washington's offense is, and I don't think they commit long to the ground game. Like a guy like Brian Robinson, I think he never seems to get a lot of carries in terms of trying to wear a defense down. How big is Cosmi's loss to the Commanders?
Well, it's really big for this game in particular because he'd be facing Jalen Carter. Right. Jalen Carter, I mean, the hard part with Jalen Carter is he doesn't leave the field. So it's not like you ever get a break. And he had, Cosmi, worked hard against him, and Carter still had success against him. Now you're going to go in there with a backup, and Trent Scott played the other day. I don't know yet who's going to be starting at that spot. If it's Trent Scott, he's an experienced tackle. He hadn't played guard since 2021 until the other day. So that's tough. And, I don't know how you get around that. You can double Carter, but that's going to leave the other side one-on-one. Then they have to hold up. But I think what you have to do is kind of like, you're going to have to scheme and game plan away from, that side of the field, or just do things too slow, whatever, because that's a big loss. So the other thing, Pat, that where it also hurts is they love to run the guard tackle counter pools, right? So he's really good at that. So you lose some of that. He's really good at blocking out space on screens. You're going to lose some of that too. So it's a substantial loss.
Yeah, it is. And I think, John, like I was talking about with the fourth downs, the Commanders have to be careful that if they get away from the running game, or if they and put Jaden Daniels in a bunch of 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 situations. The kid's he's not a miracle worker now. No. And I think they gotta commit to trying to get him in a bunch of 3rd and 5s. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see though with Cosme's loss, how quickly Washington can adapt, because that's a big loss there with a monster like Jaden.
Well, like I said, it compounds it, because like Scott went in there and did for not having played it, did well against Detroit, but he struggled at times to get to the second level. The timing wasn't there. He stumbled a couple of times. Pass protection, he was pretty good. But you're talking about there's a big difference in what he faced in Detroit and what if he starts Sunday, regardless of who starts Sunday. They don't have a really good option there. Now, somebody asked Dan Quinn today, would you just put your best 5 out there? And the implication is, would you move one of your other tackles? Like Andrew Wiley has played guard in the past with Kansas City. Could you move inside? But he hasn't played in there a few years. And then you're putting, so it's so you've got to go.
I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I don't expect him to do that. Yeah.
No, either do I. But like the bottom line is, it's a really, really tough game for them to be missing a guy like Cosme because of Carter. It's just that guy is good. You know that.
John Keim, I want to segue to the front office for just a minute, because what the Commanders did was really outstanding. And the Eagles, we're kind of used to it. Howie Roseman does a tremendous job with the Eagles. Is like the Zach Bond signing might have been the best free agent signing in the NFL this year, along with Barkley, of course. But the Commanders have done a nice job. They guys like Zach Ertz has been kind of reborn here in Washington. Austin Eckler. Hurt a lot, but very effective as a change of pace back. Alameda Zaccheaus been coming on as the receiver 2 for the Commanders. Brian Wagner and Frankie Louvu has been a very notable part of that Commander defense. The only thing, John, is it's one of the older teams now in the league. Do you think Washington? I mean, first, a comment for me: how good a job you think they did with the free agents that they added on, and what is their plan? And what would you think their plan would be next year? Are a lot of these guys one and done?
Well, so a lot of them signed 1-year deals. Like Bobby Wagner's a 1-year deal, Zach Ertz a 1-year deal. I'm pretty sure those guys want to continue. But when you start to get older, what year does it just kind of topple? But both have had good years. I believe both want to continue. Eckler's a 2-year deal, but they had a couple other guys. Jeremy Chin, 1-year deal, had a good year. Dante Fowler's had a good year on a 1-year deal. So, but what they really did, Pat, is they have an older roster, but they also have a lot of young guys playing. But I think to me, a key is they wanted guys like Wagner and Ertz for leadership, and then also to set a standard, help them set a standard, for moving forward, right? And just how you work, how you prepare, et cetera. So, but the key is they can still play. Then you got mature rookies like Jaden Daniels. He started 55 games in college. Mike Sammer's still a corner. Is multi-year starter at Michigan. So, and is a very mature player. So that mix has been very good. I think there was the roster construction was good. The other thing that to me was a key in free agency, and this is a big thing to me, is it's all about fit. You can go out and sign big names. I've seen big names signed before,
especially in that town. You're
well,
right.
And it brought in coaches from a lot of different spots who had ties to the players they signed. Like Marcus Mariota was in Philly last year. Brian Johnson's now an offensive coach here. Now is Mariota, he's not a key starter, but he's been a key mentor for Daniel. So but they had connections to a lot of the guys that brought him in. I think that was a big, big key. So the fit was very good. I forgot the other question that you asked.
No, I was just talking about it. It was just you had kind of answered in that. Will these guys continue to play with Washington, or is this something the Commanders might do each year? Is just reach out and pluck some lower price free agents on 1-year deals? Is that the way the organization is going to do this?
Yeah, and I think with the Adam Peters, the GM, his philosophy is you build through the draft and then you supplement in free agency. Right. So yeah, I could see that. Now this year they have $100 million in cap space approximately, but they have a lot of guys they have to re-sign. I just rattled off a few. So they have to fill out the roster, but they're intent on building through the draft. So they are definitely ahead of schedule. But so it will be interesting to see how they approach this offseason with the free agency. They're not going to go crazy like just signing every big name, but they will be very active because they have to be. So
they should take that $100 million, John, buy crypto and save it for when they to pay Jaden Daniels, because that's what they're going to need.
I mean, it's going to be.
Oh my God!
His contract in 4 years is going to be outrageous.
Will break the bank, John. 2 more questions,
and it'll be deserved.
Yep. Well, yes, it will be. Relative to what's going on in the NFL, yes, it will be.
And what he's done here with a franchise that hadn't won in decades.
Last two for you, John. What was the bigger news this week in Washington? Was it the inauguration or was it the NFC title game?
Well, it's, as somebody who's covering this team, I look at this one. I know the other one was a big deal, but personally, I kept forgetting about it because, like, you're on the plane, you see people, come into the inauguration. So you kind of forget about it because you're so wrapped up in this. And also the other fact is, I'm an Ohio State fan, so Monday night was a bigger night for me with that. So all this stuff like, the inauguration. So, I think so many people here are excited about this team that it really does test that. Like the two most popular people in Washington typically are quarterback, president. And I'm not sure, right now you'd have to, who's more popular. It's hard to be more popular than Jaden Daniels in this area. I will say this. This team is more of a uniter. Politics divide. We know that. But this team unites the city unlike anything that I've seen. And
I think you're right. I think
for sure.
The comparisons to Robert Griffin are really, really substantial. And I hope this kid stays healthy. I hope nothing happens to this kid because he's going to be something special in this league.
Yeah. And he's very different. He's very, very different than Robert. His staying power, because of how he works and what he works on, and his approach is far different, and he's just far more popular with his teammates.
And I think, too, he's a much better passer. I mean, this kid is good
for sure. He's just a better player. I covered Robert. He's the opposite, and he'll be here for a while.
Fair enough. Last one, John. Can Jaden Daniels pull this off on Sunday?
Well, yeah, he can. And I think, we can always lay out a path to a victory for any team. I mean, they did it a couple weeks ago in Washington, and they scored 36 with 5 turnovers. So I think, yes, I would say this, Pat. I have learned with this team not to put anything past them. Nobody expected them to beat Tampa Bay, or very few. Certainly nobody expected them to beat Detroit, and they did. And they find ways. Like I kind of liken them on my podcast to like the cockroaches of the NFL. They're just hard to kill. Yeah. And now I think the hard part in this game, that's a really good team on the other side of the ball. And unlike Detroit, this team has a defense. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the hard thing. Can they overcome that? But I think, can Daniels do it? Yeah. But like you look at the rosters, it's not equal. But number 5 gives them a chance in every game.
He certainly does. And it'll be an interesting, especially if Washington, I think it's the oldest story in the game, John. If Washington hangs around and you get into the fourth quarter and it's a 1-score game, Look out. Yeah, look out is right. So, John Keim, I appreciate you taking all this time. And assuming you weren't lying to me and you haven't been fired with that backdrop there.
No, I'm in a room in the media facility. It's like, as you can see, the decoration is secondary right now.
I see that. Yeah, Washington, I can see they really go all out. John, if Washington pulls this off, I got a few more shows to do. I'd love to drag you back here to talk about the Super Bowl.
I always enjoy coming on. I tell you, Pat, I can't wait till Sunday because that atmosphere is going to be awesome, and I love going to games in Philly.
It certainly is. Yeah, but I'd leave the Sonny Jurgensen jersey at home, John. Just some advice.
It's my fear is always I have Virginia plates, and sometimes I put an Eagles bumper sticker in my car. Like, don't touch my. No,
yeah,
I love going there. I love going there. Absolutely love it. It's great.
You love getting out of there too. I have no doubt. So appreciate that, John. Thanks very much, pal. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, the great John Keim there joining me from Washington D.C. John joining me there to talk some football there from the Commanders side. All right, listen, all you guys on the chat, thanks very much. Please smash that like button. I'm getting close to Joe Rogan, and I'd like to take over from Joe as the number one. So you guys would really help me doing that. Thanks a lot for taking part in the conversation too. That's a tough draw. Top 4 quarterbacks going into this weekend. You can see lots of different answers there, but it's a little bit troubling whose name showed up most often, 4th. It should be a great game for Jalen Hurts to show up and show off, right? I mean, assuming he's not hurt that bad, but we could use a dose of 2022 Jalen Hurts this weekend, and A.J. Brown the same way. We will be back in a couple weeks. And we'll be back next week to discuss exactly what happened here. I got a few weeks left to go in the show. Thanks very much to Xander Krause for producing. Thanks to all you guys for taking part. Thanks to all my guests, Sal Paolantonio, Sean Green, for joining me. We will be back at it next Sunday to dissect these couple of games and to talk about the upcoming Super Bowl. That's all next here on This Week in Pro Football here on JAKIB Sports. Good night.